Hello, Dr. Carrie Hepburn here from Compass PD, and it is Sunday. And I am spending today mapping out a unit for writing in second grade. This particular unit that I'm writing is for a school district that has been searching and searching for a resource that aligns with their values of what they want students to become as writers and with evidence and research based practices. Sadly, it's been really hard for districts to find something like that. We love working with schools and with districts to develop this together. But what we are finding is that people are having a harder time pulling teachers and staff to be able to do this really important work. And so they're asking us to develop it, gather feedback, and then revise them as they go. And I thought what would be really nice is for you to be able to watch me kind of work through this. I will try to do it very quickly. I'm giving you a very abbreviated version. It takes us easily 8-ish days to write a single unit because you're looking at grade specific. We like to, when we're writing the units, customize them so that they're current and relevant for the students that they are, being used in front of. So adding some details about their state or details about their community or something is always really fun. So we like to add some of that in. And then making sure that it is high quality, but not overwhelming can be a challenge as well. So I'm working on second grade opinion, or not opinion. Opinion was the other day. I'm working on second grade narrative unit, and so I'm going to quickly show you how I'm kicking this off. All right. So the first place that I start are in the comprehensive standards guides. If you have the comprehensive standards guides, you know the power and the value of the learning progressions. The learning progressions are aligned with the standard. So this is the second grade standard for narrative writing in Common Core. And we've outlined like all of the steps that students need to take in order to master that standard at the end of the year, right? So we are using the writing process and helping kids like start thinking of a story, verbally telling, so that oral rehearsal time. Sometimes they're drawing pictures to help them make their, to generate ideas, to make their plan, all of that, and teaching them to plan a story with two or more events. So I first dig deep into the standard. So this is going to be the main standard that we'll be hitting throughout this narrative writing unit. Another standard that we'll be hitting is this language standard. So we'll be talking about different things because we're talking about using adjectives a lot in this standard. I thought this would be a really great standard for reminding kids about using commas in a series, right? That's going to be really important to them. Always reminding them about capital letters and punctuation, and then using their generalized spelling patterns. So this is going to be a really great one for teachers to be able to go through and use. And then we're using this language standard as well. And this language standard, they want to focus on adjectives and adverbs. And we'll talk about expanding simple and compound sentences. So I keep all of this in mind and I think about all of the different kinds of lessons that students are going to need in order to be able to do that. From there, we have a template that we use to plan our writing units because the template follows the writing process, and the writing process is recursive. Our goal is for students by the end of a unit to write 3 pieces, regardless of age. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I should say from second grade until grade 12. We want students to write multiple pieces so that from start to finish so that it gets easier and faster. They can be shorter, they can be longer, but either way, we want to move students through the process multiple times so it becomes automatic. So we hear fluency and automaticity a lot. our like unit little process plan with the writing process helps us get through that. Now, do we make modifications? Absolutely. But this just helps us get started with this. If you would like it, don't hesitate to reach out to me at Carrie, Carrie, at the at sign, compass-pd.com. I'll be happy to send it to you. Just say, hey, I'd love to have that writing process unit plan. I'll send it to you and you can use it. So we use this because the writing process, like I said, is recursive. You kind of do it again and again, and you can go back and forth in between it. And so we outline it on 25 days. We never like a unit to go much more than 25 days because if you go over 25 days, then everybody loses steam, they get bored, they get tired. And as a teacher, especially if you're in secondary and you're teaching the same lesson, multiple times a day, you feel like you're poking your eyeballs out because you get bored to death. So it's really good to keep units moving and progressing. We see a lot of people go real slow through things and they never get through much content. So we want to be able to get kids doing this. And if you're doing this process every day or the majority of your school year, your kids can do it automatically, right? So you'll notice that we have generating ideas a couple days early on, talk about rehearsal and explicit rehearsal, oral rehearsal and planning, have a draft day, we revise. The first phase of this, we always revise on structure. Like for this what I'm writing for narrative writings, beginning, middle, and end. Do we have a beginning, a middle, and end? Woohoo! Like we're gonna celebrate that. Then we have in yellow explicit grammar mechanics lessons. Now, please don't send me an email because you need more grammar and mechanics lessons than two per 25 per month. Okay. You should be doing these kinds of lessons when you're talking about dictation, if you're doing interactive writing, as you're in your word study time, as you notice things in the books that you're reading, as you notice things in science and social studies. So, this is explicitly, these are what I'm going to focus on lessons in this unit. These grammar mechanicals lessons, any of these lessons, also what we tell our teams is we can go back and use these in small group instruction. We can go back and use these in conferencing, all of that. Remind kids that these are good strategies. So when we're doing this, we're using strategies to teach these parts of the writing process. Then we go into editing. So we've got a good grammar mechanics lesson. We're going to go back and we're going to edit, not just for what was taught here, but other things as well. And then students will finish that piece up. We use that for formative assessment. They set goals for their next steps. Talk about editing checklists, writing checklists. You might use the learning progression. Most of our schools use the actual learning progressions for this process. So you might be using that. Some use their proficiency scales, however that looks. And then we're going through the second phase of this, okay? So you'll notice instead of having two generating ideas, we have one generating ideas day where we give them another tool, another strategy, go into another rehearsal and planning where we taught them one way to do it here, teach them a second day here. Then they draft. So now they've gone from one strategy to two for rehearsal and planning. They've gone from two generating idea strategies to three. And we're going to go in and do a quick revision on structure. We did 3 revision strategies on structure early on. Students can pull from that. So it'd probably be like how to start your story and how to end your story would be one. And then maybe beefing up the middle, telling about 2 or more events, since that's in standard, that kind of thing. Here in this phase, we're going to go into revising on elaboration. So how to beef up their writing. Okay. So becoming more interesting, engaging to the reader. Another grammar and mechanics lesson that's explicit on something else We'll edit here using a checklist or progression or proficiency scale or rubric, whatever you might have. And then we'll do formative assessment goal setting. Now, we did this here throughout this phase. We'll be having students revisit what they set their goals on during their share time, or we'll be checking on them during their like conferencing time. And then the final then students will go through this process again. And this time it will be much faster. And this time I'm not going to provide as many supports because I want to see what from structure, what from the elaboration, and what from these grammar and mechanics lessons are students able to do independently, because that's going to be their summative assessment. Okay. So they'll generate ideas, rehearse, plan, draft, revise, edit, and then have a celebration. And that's their, you know, ending culmination of that. So this is just a quick way that I use to develop a unit, and many in our team do. We look at end of the year expectations of students writing in that genre and at that grade level. We have lots of exemplars that we study in order to make sure that our lessons are hit. And then we use a variety of resources. So for me, um, I'm not sure exactly how the unit's going to kind of map out, but the first phase of this unit, I thought I would write about Luna, my foster dog. So I'm going to teach kids in narrative writing about how to take something that you know and it's a character and then write a story about it. Okay. So just keeping it really simple, really concrete, really fun. Going to tell the story of Luna going from on the streets to being rescued to being in a home and kind of the phases. So it's kind of a nice beginning, middle, end that they can see, and then how we can elaborate and beef that up throughout the unit. Then from there, I'm going to talk to kids in that second phase of the unit of how you can build a character around someone or something that you know or that you experience. So maybe it's about a friendship, or maybe it's about your family, or maybe it's about just something, maybe it's about based on books that they read and they want to create a whole new, book about that. And then the third bend, we will choose something, and I'm not sure exactly what way I'm going to go with it yet, but we're going to choose something like maybe they can, write a book with their own character and that has multiple events. I'm still like processing through this, but each phase I kind of build up a little bit more where they're challenged a little bit more based on that writing process, right? So we're moving from the basic structure into elaboration. I'm thinking about that narrative writing standard and how those expectations get higher based on that learning progression that is in the comprehensive standards guides, and then getting students to where they get lots of practice with that. And at the end of the unit, we will be assessing them on the standard. Do they have a strong beginning, middle, and end? Do they have two or more events? Do they develop a character? Use some adjectives? Do they have complete sentences? That kind of thing. So it's going to be really fun, really engaging. This is something you can do. Like, as if you're a district leader or a teacher, you can do this, but it takes intentional planning, takes intentional use of time and structure. So, like I said, probably about 8-ish days. So if you're a district leader and you're thinking, let's just try it. Let's try one. Let's get really good at it. So I'll share with you the resources that I'm using. Sorry about that. I meant to. I'm using the Writing Revolution as one of them for explicit grammar, and then that writing rope work from the writing rope, and explicit writing instruction. And then I'm pulling from Jennifer Saravallo's Writing Strategies book as well. So thank you for all you do. Stay focused, stay inspired, and keep making a difference.